Hello everyone and welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm the Spicer, and today is the third and final part of our Redesigning Gundam Wing series. Part 1 I covered the main 5 Gundams, Part 2 I covered the Epion and the Tall Geese, and this part is the Wing Zero, V8 Mercurius, Death Scythe Custom, and Gundam Ultron. If you would like for me to take a look at redesigning some of the grunt suits or some of the side story stuff, either for Frozen Teardrop or G-Unit, let me know in the comments down below, and also let me know what you think about my ideas here. But before we get into the actual kind of redesigning from a conceptual standpoint, let me tell you about today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is us. That's right, we have a Teespring store, so if you've ever wanted any Gunpla Network related merch, you can find it there. Funny enough, theme-wise, there is a Gundam Wing logo Gunpla Network shirt that I've had my eye on for a while. I think it's a really neat design that goes with a lot of different things. You can choose the color of the shirt, so if you want to wear it with a jacket, or if you live in Texas like me where it's hot most of the time, you can just wear it out and about. Anyway, go check that out after this video. Now, we're starting with the Wing Zero here, and we're doing the Master Grade, because I think this is the definitive version of this suit. As far as proportions, there's really nothing I have to say about this. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I quite like the proportions of this. I like some of the little mechanical details showing out through here. But as far as some changes I'd probably make the ears colored. Just like either blue or red, or even kind of go the real grade route and maybe like a bone white, off white, just to add some variety to the head, because it does feel a little boring if it's got these big wings. Utilize them. Probably make these little sensors a little bit bigger and change this. This I think is still just a hair too big. Maybe just bring it in a little bit. But outside of that, it's pretty solid. There's nothing outside of that that's a problem. Aside from these little ankle guards. These are the worst part of the kit. From like a design standpoint. This isn't against this kit. This is just how the Wing Zero is designed. And I loathe it. These are too big. They're proportional to the leg, but the foot's too small for it. So you either make the foot bigger or shrink this down by like 5%. It just feels a little too bulky to me, in my opinion. But outside of that, like that's the only major like actual proportional change I would make to the suit itself. Really solid. Maybe I go back and do some other things whenever I get to the actual redesign of this. But if you've got ideas for redesigning this, let me know in the comments. Now for the V8 and Mercurius, we have two different options. I wasn't going to do the line art for any of these just because the line art isn't... I don't want to say it's not good, it's just not a great proportional representation of what we actually inevitably end up getting. So these are the high grades, and from what I remember, they're kind of based, if not entirely based off the old 90s kits. So these aren't great. I did build those old 90 kits, and you know, they're not ideal. Or we go with the Robot Damacy here. I like these much better, in my opinion. I think that, much like I said with the Tall Geese, it's about speed, right? So you kind of want a slender build and frame. The legs do that here. The arms, the shoulders, everything works really well with this. They extended the torso a little bit. I quite like these. This is the version I'm going to go with, in my opinion. If you disagree, let me know in the comments so that when I eventually get to these, I can decide which ones to actually do. The biggest problem I think I have with these is the coloration. And the red and blue Oni thing I think is fine, right? I think having the secondary color be like a silver or a just kind of really light hue version of whatever the base color is not ideal. If we're working off the TV show and we're looking at the tall geese, it didn't do that, right? It wasn't like a bunch of off grays or off whites or bone whites or anything. It was pretty much just white and black. And if you look at the Endless Waltz version of that kit, it's like white and yellow. So I would probably go in and change these torso bits to probably black. Same thing with the shoulders. I just feel like it's too homogenous. Like, it doesn't feel, I don't want to say serious, but it does feel like, in lore, why would you paint these parts? Like, there's no need to. Here I can kind of get, right? But, yeah, I would change these to, like, a gray or a black or something. I'd probably change the vent color to be a little bit more distinct along with it as well. Outside of that, though, the thrusters are fine. I probably do a little bit of coloration here on this flared out bit in the knee and something on the foot, but that's it. Like, from a design perspective, I don't actually think there's a lot to do to these without changing the gimmick entirely. Like, I would love to change the shield, but I kind of get that big close and attack guy, big beam gun guy. So, well, I take that back, actually. I would probably, like, if you could leave this, maybe make these little nubs here like smaller defensor units or something, and put the defensor backpack on this guy. Because, like, I get that they're supposed to work in tandem, and that's the idea in the show. But if this is your close range guy, you don't really want the defensive units not being close to the guy you're supposed to defend. So, yeah, maybe like half of these, maybe like have 5 here, and kind of like a 1, 2, 3 configuration, and then maybe like make an arm sleeve on either side or both sides, depending on, because there's 6 of the defensor units for this guy. I'm sure there's probably some variant of these that's been shown in a manga that does that, but yeah, conceptually, I think that would make a little bit more sense. Now on to the Death Scythe Hell, and yeah, this is one of those that it's going to be kind of hard for me to be like, oh, this is just terrible, we have to change everything, because I kind of like this. The one thing that has always kind of perplexed me about it is something I like, but I dislike. It's a love-hate thing. The main body of this, love it. The one thing I would change is probably some coloration on the knee, or make this knee flap smaller. But, like, realistically, like, the yellow bone aesthetic here on the chest is cool. Maybe make the V-fin just like a hair sharper, but I think that's just the high grade. Maybe add a little bit more either coloration to like the arm area, or make the legs a little bit more consistent with this dark navy gray color scheme. But it's the big shroud unit that is always something that I'll talk myself into and then I'll talk myself out of. In lore, it kind of makes sense. Like, this is something that I complained a little bit about with the original Death Scythe, is it's a stealth unit, but nothing about it really tells you it's stealthy outside of, oh, it's dark color scheme, right? The Shroud kind of does fix a little bit of that. Like, when it's closed, it's stealthy. It's like, okay, cool. And it's also a defensive measure. Oh, all right, that's fine. When it opens, it looks like cool and badass. But then, it's like, why? Like, I'm sure there are other ways you could have pulled that off, and this is just really big and kind of in the way a lot of the time. So, maybe keep, like, the back portioning of this, because I do think that it's not, like, the worst thing. Maybe add some kind of, like, stealth doohickeys or something. I don't know. Some kind of mechanical work. Probably get rid of at least one of these, just because the shield. And I kind of like the asymmetric stuff sometimes. But the front of this, it's Gundams with shrouds are cool, but they're also super impractical. So it's really hard for me to sit here from a design perspective and be like, yeah, keep this thing just for the rule of cool. But then at the same time, it's like, I kind of do like it. So get rid of this side piece, leave the back two, and probably nix the front ones. That's, I think, what I'm going with. I think. We'll see. Let me know, once again, like, for any of these, let me know in the comments what you think about my ideas, because there's so much nostalgia in the way of these this redesign that it has been really difficult for me to be like, oh, this is a clear change, this is a clear change, like the Gundam Seed stuff. And last and most definitely not least, we have the Robot Damashi Ultron Gundam, and this is one I legitimately like. From a design for just the visual aesthetics, I really like. This kind of fixes some of the problems I had with the original Shinlong, but much like with the rest of the wing stuff, the legs are boring. Like, from an actual sculpt perspective, this isn't boring. It's just, they don't do anything with it. Like, you could have made these little notches that kind of look like teeth a little bit, or this, the same gold as the fangs. Or yellow, depending on which version of this you're looking at. I think that would have been sick. Maybe color the thruster a little bit. Add some kind of color. Maybe use this, like, green on this portion instead of gray. But it does everything else I like. Like for the Wings Hero, I said color the ear. Great. Colors the ear. Sick. Wonderful. Double dragon arm. Awesome. Great. Love it. You have the tail weapon system thing with the beam guns. Awesome. Fixes the range issue I had. I love, like, this traditional armor look. That's cool. Shield's still here. Okay. Don't really care. But, you know, the shield is one thing that's easy to nix from this, because I just have never liked the shield. I do like that there is a little bit more armor here, but there's still cutouts, so you can see, like, where the arm folds up. Yeah, I mean, from, like, actually changing anything on this physically, it's just nixing the shield. Outside of that, it's just recoloring the legs, because this and its EU, or its EW counterpart, just chef's kiss. They're great. I love them. That is one thing, like I said, in the beginning of this, the rule was I can't just take stuff from Endless Waltz, because, like, that's cheating, in my opinion. The one thing I do really like comparatively between this and its Endless Waltz counterpart is the Endless Waltz counterpart does feel significantly more like a short to mid-range fighting unit, because it's, like, really, like, slender and kind of lankier in its proportions. This is a little bit bulkier, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just, like, that made a lot of sense in my head. It's like, oh yeah, this guy is up in your face. Like, being nimble, being quick is significantly more important than kind of being, like, the heavier bruiser type, right? But anyway, I like the backpack and the wings, love that. The armor look, love it. The double-armed dragon thing, love it. The overall color scheme, aside from the legs, obviously, like it. It's so unique, and as much as I think I would have liked to maybe go a little bit closer to the original Shinlong, I think this is fine. Like, I think it is distinct enough for its own good. But let me know in those comments down below. Like I said, on all of these or any of the previous videos, let me know, am I crazy? Or do some of these designs not need changes, or do some of these designs need drastic changes that I'm just not seeing because I'm a 90s kid and nostalgia has forever blinded me in this regard? Anyway, thanks for sticking with me, guys. I do truly, truly appreciate it. And as always, I've been the Spicer here for the Gunpla Network. Do your best to stay safe and keep on building.